Hello, everybody, and today we're going to be talking about some stuff regarding Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis and maybe some possible future updates of what may come. Who knows? We're just going to speculate, as well as kind of talk about the lack of content and, you know, how Sega plans to address that. So, I guess get straight into it. So, I guess we're going to talk about the content that's currently available, or rather, I should say, the lack of content that's currently available. And this is something that Sega knows. So, I mean, the dev team knows that there's not really a deluge of content that's currently available, and they do, from what I've read here from various sources, is that they're going to try and remedy that in upcoming updates. The quote was a higher volume of content after December, which of course, December, they didn't give us an exact date, but sometime in December, we're supposed to be getting a pretty big update with a new area. Now, one of the things that we're going to have to kind of be patient about is they know, and they're going to be supposedly trying as hard as they can to bring us more updates, more content. Now, I don't know what they plan on bringing to the forefront for us, but I have a few ideas that might add some more engagement with the game, because that's one of the things I've noticed when I've played it. You know, I've got about 60 hours in New Genesis and untold amount of hours into Phantasy Star Online 2. But I think one thing, a huge thing I think they should do, and it's already sort of into the game. I don't know how many of you are OGs, but if you've ever played Phantasy Star Zero for the DS, you might know where I'm going with this. There's a mode in the game called the Eternal Tower, and it's like 101 floors or something, and there's 5 bosses or something like that. It's been a hot minute since I've played. I was in high school when I played that game. But the Eternal Tower it just had every enemy you could fight except for certain bosses in the tower that you could just go all the way through. You could only do it single player, but I think a multiplayer version of that, which we almost already have with the little mini dungeons in the towers and stuff, just a different version of that, where there's like more monsters to fight, maybe more bosses, something like that. And you know, the deeper you go into the tower, the harder it gets, the better loot you get. And it'd be cool to go through with a party of 4 people. So that would be a really cool mode. And, you know, if they just added one in with every other update, like every other big expansion update, I think that would add quite a bit to the grindiness of the whole game. I think that would add I know I would play it a lot more. And I know my friends would play with me a lot more, especially if there was special things you could only get in the tower. And of course, it just gets harder and harder as you go. That would be a really fun thing to add. I kind of hope they do add something like that. The other thing they could do is maybe some boss rush modes. Boss rush modes, if I can speak. Something like that, where there's just a bunch. Of course, there's not enough bosses in the game right now to really warrant that. But, you know, maybe a few updates add in a boss rush mode, or, you know, at the end of the boss rush, there's a unique enemy that you can only fight in the boss rush mode. Something like that. And, you know, it'd just be harder to get to. And you could, you know, make it to where you could only do it with like a party of 4 or a party of 12 or something like that. We've already had something like that in Phantasy Star Online 2, and that would be something really fun to see in New Genesis as well. So that's something they already have recent experience with. And the final thing I think they should really add, and honestly, I think it would be really good. Or just competitive modes. You know, like a PvP style mode, not where you're actually fighting the other person, but maybe you're trying to capture zones from them, or you're trying to, the first team to beat a boss or beat a level wins, preferably a boss. I think that'd be a little bit better. Just, you know, everyone's fighting to beat this boss first. Or like there's a bunch of bosses out in the field, and, you know, it'll be like a team of 4 versus another team of 4 where they just try and out DPS the other, or, you know, just basically try and beat as many bosses as they can as opposed to the other team. Just something like that. Maybe even a capture the flag mode, something like that. I think adding some of that would add in a lot more playability. Especially like a capture the zone type thing, where maybe the capture the zone type thing is where you're trying to, each team has a boss that they have to protect. That would be cool. You know, just one of the, I can't remember their names, but one of the really big 2-legged ones with the big old sword and shoots lasers. You know, you try and protect it as it goes to your opponent's base. And the whole goal is to kill that while hindering your opponent. And, you know, whoever's boss reaches the other zones first, the other team's zone first, you know, they win. That would be a really cool mode. I would love to see something like that. And not only that, you would really just have to, you know, pretty much do it the once, have like 4 maps right out the get-go. That would be a really fun thing to do. I would love to see something like that. Personally, the number one thing I would love to see, since it's already almost in the game, is the Eternal Tower, or something like the Eternal Tower from Phantasy Star Zero. I mean, you know, special items you could only get in that. It just gets progressively harder and harder and harder until you reach the very top. And pretty much make it to where it's, unless you and your team are like perfectly synergized, you are not getting to the top. I think that would be an amazing thing to do. And it would add a lot more community building as well, because then you have a reason to have all these different clans, so to speak. Well, that'll do it for today. Just remember, we got a website that you can go to buy things. And then we also have our Facebook. You know, you can follow us to see what all new stuff we get in. You know, we add new stuff to the website all the time. We get new stuff into the store. We got Twitter, we've got Instagram, all sorts of different stuff. Make sure to follow us on all that. And I hope you have a great rest of your days. And goodbye.